This is Team Tesla, and we are presenting autonomous vehicles, presented by Ben, Stephen, Ariasri, David, and Harrison. We believe that autonomous vehicles are ethical, and we will go over these points on the slides later. First, we're presenting up what are autonomous vehicles.
So, what are autonomous vehicles? Well, an autonomous vehicle is one that is controlled by an AI or artificial intelligence to assist the operator in completing a specific task, whether that might be driving, flight, or if you're on a boat going from one place to another. This vehicle would utilize various built-in technologies and sensors. Uh, these technologies include adaptive cruise control, active steering, anti-lock braking systems, GPS navigation technology, lasers and radar. Lasers and radar would be used to help determine the vehicle's surroundings, such as like poles or pedestrians. Um, the first ever self-driving car was built by General Motors in 1939. It was guided by radio-controlled electromagnetic fields and operated from magnetized metal spikes on the roadway. So obviously a very primitive design at the time. Here are some examples of autonomous vehicles. They might be cars or aircraft, small drones, and even boats. Of course, the most famous self-driving car is the Tesla, although there are other companies pursuing a self-driving autonomous car, uh, even electric. And here we have the Stanford car, produced in 1961. It was created by a man named James Adams, and it was the first autonomous vehicle to be fitted with cameras and was programmed to autonomously uh, travel the terrain, um, wherever it was at. This is essentially the first rover. Um, so it was created at the height of the space race.
Maximization of utility, or how can we save the most amount of people? Some basics of utilitarianism is that they base decisions off of how they can save the most amount of people possible. They also consider if their quality of life will improve. And the final rule is whether a decision will improve society. Will society be a better place or more comfortable for people to be living in it? Um, of course, AVs are still a long way from like being utilized in public, like fully autonomous vehicles. But however, Tesla is trending towards being the first company to release a fully autonomous vehicle. Right now, majority of Teslas are not fully autonomous. Only the driver can like stay in between lanes and make automatic lane changes using autopilot, which is like a partially fully autonomous. Um, Autopilot, however, must be engaged off when making a turn. So that's why um, the driver can only stay in between lanes or change lanes. Um, they have also released that there has been one crash for every 4.31 million miles. In comparison to a non-autonomous car, there has been one crash for every 1.59 million miles. This proves already that majority of people are benefiting from AVs. There was a survey done by the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, and they asked surveyors about how they felt about AVs. They've reported that 6 out of 10 people answered that they would benefit from AVs. Another benefit of AVs is that they would help the elderly and disabled to get out of the house. Utilitarians would conclude that AVs will benefit the quality of people's lives more. Um, Instead of like spending the rest of your life inside a house, you could AVs will give you the opportunity, like, meet a friend or go shopping and do normal people stuff. Here I have a picture of a scenario about how utilitarianism can like benefit autonomous vehicles. In the picture, you can see the red highlighted figures are people, and the yellow is some sort of wall. Not sure why it's in the middle of the road, but the red objects, or as the people, walked on the street when they weren't supposed to, and the car has to make a decision on where to swerve to get out of the way. Since AVs run on an algorithm, just like utilitarianism, it would choose on which group to hit. It would choose the wall since it calculates or predicts that there would be no casualties if I go this route, compared to hitting a family where there's a kid and a dog and a single person, like that would probably kill them, right? So I'm going to hit the wall instead.
Deontology. What is deontology? Deontology is a moral philosophy that is called a duty-based philosophy. Ethics. Some of the principle is that people should do the right thing even the outcome is bad. So basically, deontologists would follow the rules to distinguish from right from wrong. Deontology and autonomous vehicle. Basically, deontologists would support the idea of autonomous vehicle because it follows with the idea of deontology, which is doing the right thing. And their motive would be to save people's life, because that's the right thing to do. And some statistics provided by the Tesla Motors Company, which is an autonomous vehicle company, said that for one that autonomous vehicle provides one crash for every 4.31 million miles traveled, which shows that the autonomous vehicle are less likely to crash and cause an accident and death than a normal human-operated vehicle, which has a higher rate of accidents. So some rules of thumb for deontologists of the autonomous vehicle is that their number one priority is to reduce the harm to the driver and the passenger. And then another rule is to reduce the harm of any human outside of the vehicle, but they should not compromise the safety of the driver and the passenger inside the car before saving the other humans. And then finally, not destroying any property, which also keeping in mind that saving the driver and the passenger is the number one priority than anything else.
What are some miscellaneous issues of autonomous vehicles? Unemployment. With various companies investing in autonomous vehicles, how will that impact employment? If driverless cars become a reality, that could threaten the livelihood of truckers, cabs, taxis, food delivery, and many others. Many may say that while jobs in the short term may be lost, better jobs will be gained in the long run. The counter-argument is that most of the jobs created through electric cars will be highly skilled and thus low-skilled jobs will shrink. Is it ethical to have safer roads at the cost of millions of jobs? Give a utilitarian point of view and a deontologist point of view. How should an autonomous vehicle make moral decisions? Example. Suppose a child is crossing a two-lane highway and then there's a car behind you. Most people would avoid the child by going into the next lane and thus breaking the traffic rules. Should an AV follow traffic laws for the good of everyone, or should they focus on edge cases, such as children crossing the street? Here's my bibliography.
Even with everything we've talked about, there are still people who believe that autonomous vehicles are unethical. Their arguments often revolve around the shift in the burden of responsibility created by this change. Rather than the driver of the vehicle being in control of their actions and what happens in the vehicle, there is now an AI and that's controlling this. And ultimately, the company and the AI that made this are responsible for the actions that it takes. To these people that believe autonomous vehicles are unethical, they see this as a downside as they do not trust the companies in charge of making AIs, as companies often do questionable things in pursuit of profit. So they believe that this is something that should be avoided, and the user of the vehicle should ultimately remain in control without an AI choosing the decisions and possibly putting the lives of the passengers at risk. We've seen in a few examples now that when autonomous vehicles crash, they often put the lives of the civilians outside the vehicle at risk more often than the drivers of the vehicle, often because the AIs are programmed to prioritize the passengers' lives as they are the buyers of said. Our response to these concerns is as follows. We believe that they become progressively more invalid as the companies behind these vehicles become more advanced. With government intervention and regulation, the concerns from the previous slides of the public about companies disregarding everything for the pursuit of profit is no longer or less of an issue. The burden of responsibility does shift from the human to the AI, and this can be seen as a problem. However, we don't see this as a strictly bad thing. This is because humans are often prone to making rash decisions when put under intense stress, and they need that quickly. We believe this makes humans drivers, in our opinion, no better than AIs at making moral decisions on the spot. An AI with quicker reflexes and response times with increased amounts of information can prevent accidents that humans wouldn't have been able to, leading to less accidents overall. Less accidents that happen, the less that this moral issue is an issue. As the AI improves, it's only a matter of time before they are good enough to outweigh these current concerns. As shown by the Tesla crash and safety reports, which is often used as Tesla is one of the biggest autonomous vehicle makers as of now, shows that as even though they have more cars on the road each year, the amount of autonomous vehicles that go into crashes proportionally keeps going down. This leads us to believe that the counterpoints brought up by the previous slides are not significant enough to say that we should not have autonomous vehicles or say that they're unethical. Here's our bibliography. This shows all of the sources we used. We used a variety of sources. One that I mentioned previously from Tesla, a few others from a few websites, some articles, a research paper. We looked at a variety of sources to gather our information for this project. Any questions, write them below. We will write them below, and you can respond to our questions and with your own questions if need be.